And there was a time when the productions and the remixes that you were doing, it would be you, it would be Eddie F and Dave Hall. How did the three of you? How was the chemistry between the three of you in the studio? Who would do what, and who came up with what ideas, or did it depend on the day?
It actually worked because of how it evolved. In the beginning, Eddie and I were doing stuff, you know, and then you know, Heavy said to his cousin Pete Rock was really good, you know, at the scratching and everything, and we were like, you know, we should try to include him in there so that we could get some scratching on some stuff, whatever. And then Pete, you know, did 1 or 2 remixes with us, and it really sounded good. And we were like, wow, this is like hot. And then that's when, you know, Eddie was like, you know, we should make a team. Let's make a crew. And we were like, okay, well, what are we gonna call ourselves? And of course, you know, Eddie and I have no clue because that's just not what we're good at. You know, but Pete that night was watching The Untouchables.
The movie?
Yeah.
Oh,
and he called Eddie and was like, yo, what about The Untouchables? So then Eddie called me. I said, oh, that's hot. Cool, let's do it.
So that's how the name came about?
Yeah, Pete was the one that found it.
I got a sense that Eddie F seemed to be the prominent Untouchable. Was that on purpose, or did that come about, or... Because, like, say for example, the '94 project that you did, it was DJ Eddie F and the Untouchables.
Right.
Because if you were in '88, if you were the Untouchables, you were a collective.
Right.
So what happened between '88 and '94 for it to become DJ Eddie F and the Untouchables?
Well, you know, I think from the beginning, because, you know, Eddie was with Heavy, you know, Heavy D, he had more of the contact with Andre and the whole thing. And you know, after a while, Pete and I just said, you know, what if, you know, if that's what you think we should be doing, then let's do it, you know. And we had a very hands-off approach to it because we were kind of like, oh, you know, you work out the business. If, you know, if whatever you got to do to kind of get it working, then you do it. And that's what he did, you know. And because he also, you know, we were sort of mimicking the whole Marley thing with Marley and his crew. And one of the main pieces there was that Marley had the face to put on the Juice Crew. So he was like, you know, being on with Heavy D and the Boys, we could use Heavy D and the Boys for it to be DJ ADF, so that at least the face is there, and it'll bring more attention to Untouchables, which was one of the reasons why we all did stuff for Heavy D and the Boys, because it was kind of to tie in the whole thing, and because of that, people referred to Eddie more, you know. So it just evolved into that, and then he got an assistant to help us coordinate the production because it was really hard for us to do that at the same time. And I think it was about that point where it started to be more his show, you know. But I guess we never really thought it was anything but our show regardless, you know. But it actually ended up being really the leader of it, because we really didn't want to do the business. We were very much musicians.
How did the Winans connection come about? Because Teddy Riley had done the original version of Don't Leave Me, and for somebody that was so on fire at that time, like Teddy Riley, how did you create a remix like Don't Leave Me for the Winans, which was better? Because that was a pretty cool remix. A lot of energy.
Thanks. And because, you know, actually, I was worried that we were going to do something that was like him. And that worried me a lot, you know. And because, you know, Teddy's he's an incredible producer.
Nobody can knock that.
Yeah, and I didn't want us to seem so knockoff-ish. And, and I always worried about that in the stuff that we did anyway. So, we went with the record, with the you know, we used that, I forgot the name of the record that we used for the remix, but we went with a record that was like really high energy, and because these were like gospel guys and all that, we were like, let's just try to take it to a totally different direction. Yeah. And there was a new piece of equipment called Publison.
What was it called?
It was called a Publison, and it could actually shift the pitch of the music without changing the tempo. This was like really new agey kind of stuff. Sure. So we were like, you know what? Because this piece just kind of came into being. If we use it now, we'll be the first cast to like use it in a sort of more hip hop setting because no one knew to use it yet. You know, and people were using it to sort of pitch vocals sometimes, very small increments, but no one was using it like understanding like what the power of this was, that you could literally take any sample of anything and shift it anywhere you wanted. You know, and like I said, all this stuff was like new with sampling anyway. You know, so we just took that same sample and pitched it down and just kept running it back and forth and making it just the tune. You know, and with those kind of things, Eddie usually was like, you know what, you know the melody part of this. If it sounds good to you, then we'll go with it. So he left, and we were at Soundtracks, and I just played with the thing until it worked. And then he was like, okay, yeah, we can do this. This is going to sound good.
And I apologize once again if I'm talking about hot women, but how hot were the good girls?
Oh. You know what? I wasn't even there when no, that's not true. I guess I was there one of the days because sometimes we wouldn't be in the studio at the same time. It was a very weird thing. We would mean to be there, but Eddie might get busy doing something else, you know. So then I'd be in the studio kind of working out, and then the day that I can't make it, he'd be in there with them. So I was with them in one of those times, you know. And you know what? It's funny, like when you kind of have in the back of your mind deadlines,
sure,
and you know, cats are breathing down your neck, like you need to get this done right now. You know, your brain is kind of like clicking, and you're hoping, like, I hope they can sing at least a little bit, so that we don't have to do a whole lot of work on this, or we can kind of like fast forward because you're just thinking at the end of the day. And it used to always be ringing in my head that, you know, when the audience hears your record, they don't know what you have to work with. At the end of the day, and that includes the label, a lot of times they don't know very much of who they sign. So your job is just to make it work. And they would say, like, I don't care what you have to do. If you know, make it work. So at least they were talented, they could actually sing, you know, and they were pretty. So,
yeah.
I mean, that, when we saw the picture, we were like, oh, we know why it's signed, you know. But, you know, but it was like a benefit of actually that they could actually sing.
They've got some vocal chops.
Yeah,
for
so
sure.
that was like, that was just a blessing, you know.
What's the favorite song you've produced or remixed? Your personal favorite?
Wow, I don't know. I'm not really sure. You know, because it's weird, you know. It depends on what you like and what in the pieces. Like, I probably think the remix of Ribbon in the Sky was the most, it was the one chance for us to really do music. Like, we really like just took the reins off for a bit.
That was
without
special.
being too crazy. You know, Kenny and I were able to go in there and really try and put something that was very musical, that was very telling of our histories, you know, and really go at it. Complex harmonies that were just
about
like
Kenny
crazy.
Green from Intro?
Oh yeah, Kenny Green. Yeah, you know, who was absolutely one of the most gifted.
Incredible songwriter, incredible voice.
He was a character, and
I bet.
it exuded in everything he did. He was an incredible person to deal with because you dealt with all the artistry in him. So he was crazy, and literally sometimes we could get into scuffles, you know. But that was the fun sort of in dealing with him because he really wore his emotions on what he did on his sleeve, you know.